Hello, welcome to Michelle Reads Books. And today we are talking about Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And this one is considered part of the Little House series, although it's not actually about Laura and her family. It's about the man she eventually marries when he was a boy. So this is about Almanzo Wilder. And Almanzo Wilder didn't tell his own story. He died quite young. But Laura decided that she felt confident enough to tell the story herself because of all of the stories that he had told of his family growing up. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and read the summary and then give you my opinion. Almanzo Wilder, a 9-year-old boy who lives on a large farm in New York State, attends school for the first year. He's the youngest of 4, and his older siblings, Eliza Jane, Royal, and Alice, have started attending school, but Almanzo never has. They walk through heavy winter snow to the tiny schoolhouse where Almanzo learns how to read and spell. They only go to school for basic skills a few months a year since they need to help with the chores on the farm. Although his teacher is nice, Almanzo would rather stay home and help father and mother on the farm. He's proud of his family farm and father because he's an honest, smart, and hard-working man. Father has the biggest farm in the county, and he's well known for his fine horses, oxen, and cows. Throughout the seasons, Almanzo helps his family sustain themselves. They grow their own crops for food to survive, sell horses and vegetables like potatoes, and preserve and cook foods such as jellies, jams, and vegetables in their cellar. The whole family has daily chores such as feeding the horses, cows, and sheep, milking the cows, churning the butter, sewing clothes, cooking, and cleaning. More than anything else, Almanzo wants his own colt, but father doesn't think he's mature enough to train a horse yet. Almanzo works hard to convince father that he's ready to have a horse because he's always gentle, patient, and loving with the farm animals. On Almanzo's birthday, he receives a yoke for his 2 cows, Star and Bright, and learns how to teach them commands to go, stop, turn left, and right. Soon he trains his cows to pull a bobsled to carry timber for their fireplace and stove. He also trains them to pull a wagon. Almanzo works many hours to teach his calves. In the winter, Almanzo helps father and Royal cut ice from the local lake. They cut the ice into squares and store it in their ice house, using hay to keep it from melting. Almanzo almost falls in the lake, and father warns him to be more careful. As winter ends, they harvest sap from the trees in the woods to make syrup and sugar that the family uses all year long for baking and cooking. When potato buyers come to town, the whole family gathers their potatoes from the cellar, and father goes to town and sells them. Likewise, mother sells her butter when the butter buyer comes. Throughout the year, the family sells different crops, such as hay, or father sells some of his well-trained 4-year-old horses. They take their earnings to the bank. Almanzo learns the value of hard work, since they make money only if they grow good crops and raise good animals. Every spring, new animals are born, and Almanzo admires them. This year, his attention centers on the adorable colt Starlight, whom he wishes he could have as his own. Spring is also planting time. The family plants various crops, such as potatoes, carrots, grains, and corn. They have little machinery to help, so they do most of the work by hand or with horses, plows, and hoes. In addition, they shear their sheep every spring, using the wool to make clothes like suits, dresses, mittens, and hats. Mother works on her loom for hours after sheep shearing. Since the farm runs according to the seasons and weather, for example, crops must be planted in the early spring and harvested in the late fall, the family must adjust their routine to unusual weather conditions. When a cold snap hits, the family must hurry to save crops that could freeze from an early frost. They work from dawn to dusk to save the freezing corn by watering it. In the summer, Almanzo grows a pumpkin for the fall fair, and his family attends the 4th of July festival. Later, as the country fair festival in the fall, Almanzo earns the winning blue ribbon for his pumpkin, which makes him proud. Father then gives Almanzo a silver dollar, which is a lot of money. He trusts that Almanzo has learned the value of how much work goes into just $1 on the farm. Almanzo understands and buys a little pig. He names the pig Lucy and plans to sell her piglets. The family has a pattern of harvesting their crops. One harvest is in the fall and one is in the early winter. They gather all the crops from potatoes to carrots and put them in the cellar for storage. It takes many days to accomplish all these necessary chores, but the harvests provide them with enough food for the year. In addition, they thresh the hay to make hay bales and straw for the animals. On the way to town to sell the hay with Father, Almanzo sees a pocketbook on the side of the road. It contains $1,500. Father thinks it belongs to Mr. Thompson, whom Almanzo finds in town at the wagon shop. He returns the pocketbook, and Mr. Thompson double-checks to make sure Almanzo didn't steal anything. Almanzo is insulted that the man thinks he could be a thief. Mr. Paddock, the shop owner, gets so angry about Mr. Thompson being rude to good-hearted Almanzo that he forces him to give Almanzo $200. Afterward, Mr. Paddock explains the situation to Father, who is proud of his son. Mr. Paddock asks if Almanzo wants to become his wagon and carriage building apprentice. He knows Almanzo is a good, honest boy who could be a wealthy wagon builder. Father thinks about it. At home, Father and Mother discuss Almanzo's future. He could apprentice soon, since he's 10 now, but being a wagon builder means living in town and relying on others for money. Farming is self-sustainable and provides more freedom. When Almanzo's parents ask him what he wants to do, he tells them he wants a colt more than anything else. He also wants to be just like his father and have a farm. He chooses to be a farmer boy, not a wagon builder. Father rewards his choice by finally letting him have his own horse, Starlight, Almanzo's favorite colt in their herd. Almanzo is overjoyed. This is a sweet book. It's really cute. It's very oriented toward children. It also teaches children how farms were run back in the day. And it also teaches children like some really good principles in general, and also helps them to feel not so alone in their feelings, because a lot of the feelings that Almanzo has are feelings that all children have, just growing up kinds of feelings, you know. I mean, resentment towards your siblings and like frustration because you're not old enough to do something or things like that. And the only thing that I think is a little bit annoying is that his like dismissive attitude when it comes to academics. He's like, I can read, it's fine. And I'm willing to bet that his spelling was atrocious. And which is a little bit too bad, you know. But at the same time, I do understand where he's coming from. There is ridiculous amounts of work, and Almanzo is so willing to help and so willing to work and get up and do, and you know, that was so needed at the time. So I think that it kind of balances out a little bit. But it is a lot of like the different feeling that you have from Little House on the Prairie, where they're very much all alone. Almanzo grew up in more of a farming community kind of a setting where everybody had a farm, and his father's farm was quite large. I think they said they had 3 barns, and that's because they had different barns for different things. They had the barn for the cows, a barn for the horses, and then one for like storage and stuff. And like you think about that, like that's a large farm, especially for a single family to be running. And yeah, it's interesting because that's a very different kind of a culture that Almanzo grew up in than Laura did. And so even though they both grew up on farms, it was not the same kind of an experience. So I do really like this book. I think it's very interesting. And this one's not super long. It took, well, I don't know, it's a little bit long for the Little House books. It took me just under 5 hours to read. So like 4 hours and like 40 minutes or something. But I do find it really interesting. So if you like these kind of books, I think you'll like this one. Leave your opinion down in the comments below, and happy reading.